thing has to get stopped, and it has to get stopped as soon as it can. She's got to get shut down. And that's my intent, is to silence her. So there was, Volusia and I decided to hold an event like Mount Rainier area. My right-hand gal went, and I guess I must have known 8 of the 20 people that went to the 2-day retreat. And then the first day of the retreat, my right-hand gal called me, and she said, "You won't believe what happened. JZ Knight and Ramtha and I think Greg Simmons and another, maybe one of the secretaries, drove to that event, and JZ came there as Ramtha. You know, I don't think JZ was ever there. It was just Ramtha, came forth, and he started lecturing these people that if you stay here, you will die. This is evil, and saying some really bizarre things.
In the room where they were all seated. So JZ or Ramtha said these words in the room, came into the house and said this.
Right. With intending to disband the thing, said if you stay the night, you will die. I'm just quickly characterizing it.
Sure.
Well, I said to her, "Oh, he's just testing you. This is, that's absolutely absurd what he's saying. That goes so much in contrary to his teachings. It was preposterous." So that was my first reaction. But the following day, she comes back to the island, and there was a tape recording of Ramtha meeting with the people, in shock over what had occurred. Ramtha was talking with them, and I don't know whether I heard it, it was played for me that day, but, and then I talked with the people, and this thing is sounding like, I'm kind of like taken aback. Well, then on Monday morning, the event was Saturday and Sunday, I guess. Monday morning, JZ Knight called, and she called the 15 most prominent people in the teachings. And we were called to an emergency meeting at the ranch. Doug Marr, who was the other scribe, know him?
No, don't.
He wrote Destination Freedom 1 and 2, Journey to Ominous Dragoon of Dr. He was the other publisher. He was competing with me. Anyway, he was called, Mary Redhead was called, I was, Ramtha even called someone that I hired.
Line's gone dead. Can you hear me?
And I kind of, I was kind of like, she shut me up, and I just was watching her presentation, and I said, this lady is fucking crazy. I said, wait, Ramtha comes out, he's going to take her to task, because it was unbelievable what she was saying. She was like, she was a psycho.
You've got a record of this conversation, right? I've heard it on...
Well, I don't think the tape began in the preliminary, unfortunately. But when Ramtha came out, that tape, it's two tapes, two 90-minute tapes, and it happened to have been part of the White Book. Came from what was said that day. However, Ramtha was really kind of weird himself. Ramtha did not chew her out. He did what he always does, defended her left and right, and just chewed into the audience. And he went to everyone and says, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And just asking everyone that question. And then he said, none of you know who I am or what I would do. to say that, well, Ramtha wouldn't go up there and say kind of what he said, and, it turned it into, quite a wonderful teaching, but that's when I clearly saw that Ramtha was, Jay-Z was crazy and Ramtha was Jay-Z. And...
Yeah, you finally did the arithmetic.
Well, no, I had about 5 red flags in my experience, and they're pretty powerful. But there's always, everyone when they go into an exploration, there's always a suspension of disbelief, and
you explain it away. Yeah, you explain it away.
Allow you to investigate until those are either kind of put to rest in an imbalance, or sufficient things come to the fore that make it impossible for you to sign on, and you leave. At one point, after about an hour of Ramtha talking, I got up and I said to Ramtha, "We have a plane waiting. We've got to go." And I walked out on him and brought Douglas with me, and the 4, we were 4 people at the meeting. 2 people weren't invited. That was our girlfriends, each who worked for us. And it was almost, kind of my statement, and I left in shock and disbelief and stunned. And that ride home on the airplane, I just, I said, there isn't a Ramtha. There isn't a Ramtha. So, and I had to kind of go home and decide what I was going to do and how I was going to deal with it and how I was going to handle it. And, I was devastated.
Right, but you reasoned it out to still go ahead with the white book, or was that out of your control at that time?
Restate your question again?
You reasoned it out to go ahead with the white book.
Yes.
Is that because of you felt you could do damage control further down the line?
That was the predominant element. But it would be hard to separate the fact that at that point I owed about $200,000-something, plus I had about $50,000 of my own money in, plus I had 3 years, I had 10,000 hours of my own time into the book. And
wow, that's amazing.
I felt that I could better serve the totality of my situation by continuing with it, but especially because Jay-Z was she wasn't really paying any attention to the teachings. The number of events went down. She was going to fewer and fewer places, bad-mouthing the students, and she was indicating, it was right around that time that Ramtha had said something about, I'd said, all I have, or I'm tired, or something, and I was feeling that she had enough, and she was going to get into the horse business, and she was going to kind of, whittle down, and then that was even more reason for me to stick with the book, because I knew that would survive. That's why I want to shut her down. To keep the harm is being done to the people that go to the school, but it's also being done to an awful lot of the teachings that are out there in her audio tapes and kind of all kinds of CDs, which is a whole bunch of crap. If you could throw everything away and keep 2 or 3, real good books, you can, which is really, the White Book is a presentation of the perennial philosophy or the perennial wisdom, cast, with a certain, mythology around it, but I tried to keep it pure. I tried to keep it, really in accord with what is called the perennial philosophy, if you're familiar with that.
So do you think the Ramtha of the White Book existed at that time?
Pardon?
Do you think the Ramtha that's portrayed in the White Book that everybody believes existed at that time, did the Ramtha exist that you wrote about, that the White Book depicts?
No, it only existed probably in the first 6 months that JZ started channeling.
Just
when
the first 6
when
months?
It was pure.
Mind
You know, when she didn't know that it could mean money, when she didn't know anything, she let her higher self go and produce, you know, with her talent, something that was very pure. And the more it meant something to her, the more her ego intruded into her purer self, and the more she altered the message. And so that's why, you know, there was, at every stage, there are people that came in and then later felt that the Ramtha left. And that's because the ego became greater and greater. Especially, you know, you could see it after she got clobbered in '87 on the 2020 show, and then got the bomb threats in the summer event, and she said, "I'm not doing any more traveling away from home." That's when she devised the school, and so a new Ramtha came out, but JZ, you know, ego perspective now was very much different. She was going to go kind of underground.
Sure.
And then the message got dark. And
listen, Steve, have you heard of a former RSE staff member? His name is Glenn Cunningham.
It sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, he was JZ's bodyguard, or Ramtha's bodyguard. His wife was JZ's.
Okay, yeah, right. You mentioned him. You mentioned him too. You know, he defected. And,
yeah. Anyway, he's willing to be interviewed, and I think it'll be very interesting information he brings up. But what's interesting about Glenn is that he knew it was a fraud while he was working there. I was wondering, what's your perception of people working there, perhaps even to this day, that know it's a fraud?
Many people know it's a fraud.
Many?
But I'm sure she has them sign things, and, you know, they're afraid to say anything. And, you know, even me, I could not come out and tell. I mean, what was the point in me trying to convince people it wasn't true? They were enjoying it. They were, you know, they had free will. There's no need for me to get into a fight. And
well, that's what Glenn says too at that time.
But I was harboring a planned. You know, one, I was protecting my obligation to the people that gave me the money to do this, that I owed, and that was a terrible conflict for me. And so it was always to figure out, you know,
yeah, you were trapped.
Was to how to figure out the best way to meet my multiple responsibilities according to my values. And you know, I just cannot. You know, I'm not going to burn someone, but it's just I have to try to.
Right.
I have to try to work it out in the best way. But something that happened was because I got crippled. Everyone kind of I owe something to kind of gave up. They never supported me, or they didn't care, or they let it go, or...
Okay, another question. Did those people that helped you, did all the work on the White Book, did they get paid eventually for their labors?
Oh, yeah, everyone that worked.
Okay.
But they didn't get paid appropriately. I mean, some did, but there were key people that White Book was amazing. I pulled together an amazing talent of people, and that, you know, JZ is continually profiting by, someone's silly ideal like Steve Weinberg, who managed to, to pull together some very talented people who help her to be successful, and they just walk away with crumbs, and she goes on to, her success is built on the shoulders of a lot of people, and a lot of people who she used Ramtha to suck money out of, get to do things. She just manipulated,
I may have asked you this before, but I'm going to ask you again. Do you think...
I'll be in my talk sometimes, so...
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Quote me.
Yeah, I won't... Do you think that there was a Bing 35,000 years ago? Do you think there ever was a Ramtha?
No, because no, there couldn't have been, because that Ramtha had plenty of opportunity to indicate his power above her, and would have dumped her, would have closed her down. He certainly claimed, he had powers. I'll send runners, and these things happen. I'm doing it, and he put JZ down. She's just another student. She doesn't know. Blah blah blah. And yet he defended her for every blooper and thing she did that so hurt the teachings. Never criticized her, defended her. So, the two personalities really had to be one. And here's another thing. As JZ was, there were many different points, especially she was reading about England. By the way, she gets the interior Earth comes from the movie Journey to the Center of the Earth. When she was reading about England, Jack the Ripper, and all that, then Ramtha, that shows up in Ramtha's teachings.
Yeah, that's true. Others have told me the same when they've worked with her.
When I came, here I am, really the most brilliant student, the one chosen to be his scribe, and I attend events. And do you think he ever called on me to ask an intelligent question so he could give a wonderful answer? Never called on me. Afraid of me, shied away from me. JZ paid me no attention for 2 years. Yet, I really have more really intriguing, interesting kinds of things.
Well, I'd like to hear them another time.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, what can I do for you on my end? Is there anything I can do to help you with anything you're going through?
Well, yes. Just promise me you won't abandon me.
Steve, I won't. I won't abandon you.
Listen, and then I start questioning. I want to get to the point that I'm secure to know that people will take advantage of what I have to bring her down.
Yes.
And to help people deal and cope and see, I want to create the greatest good out of this. I mean, I want to turn the lemons into lemonade. And but mostly me. I want to make sure that I didn't waste, the valuable information and the power position that I have. That's what I've been staying alive for. And, I find it ironic, and I've written you like 3 emails, and I wanted to send you just the dribbles of it, just the fragments that I never did complete. But it's ironic, in my life, my greatest joy was creating the White Book. And my greatest mission now is to destroy the White Book. So I've had my heaven and my hell have been over the same thing.
You spoke about a redemption of thought before, that something good can come from all this.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciated that, because I feel like our dreams that we held, what brought us into this in the first place, they can be opened up, and there can be something that can come from all this, and that is really, really important to me, especially.
Everybody who went with Ramtha cannot forget the courage that it took to go into the fringe, the heart that they had. For the 12 people that followed Jesus, there were 12 people that followed 10,000 other people that led them down a wrong path,
Yes.
But they were all equivalent. Just because we all had the dream for ourselves and for the world, that's the thing that has to survive. We can't throw that out just because we had a wonderful actor that kind of misled us. So let's hang on to that, and let's keep that alive going forward.
Yeah.
We can turn this into a positive thing.
Yeah.
Far more positive than it was going to ever be.
Yeah. And also, I'll talk to Joe, if you don't mind, about our...
No, I'm really anxious to talk to Joe.
So I'll have a conversation with Joe. We're often on the phone together.
Good.
And these are key people that I trust and are trustworthy, and they will not let us down.
Okay. And I would like to see, us define the think tank that, will come together with the different... I'm throwing out ideas, but I hold on to nothing. I'm not committed to anything. What is done is going to emerge out of a group.
Yeah.
Of people who have a like intent.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to work to until we solidify by consensus because there's where our power comes from. If you get the right people focused on that same thing, then we can mobilize any resource to make it happen. But you need leadership.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to define, who that group would be, and it probably should be no more than 5 to 7. Yeah, and thank goodness the telephone is clear.
Yes.
We finally got the right ingredient, because it's so stressful on me to... There's so much I got to say, and I want to make sure that it comes out, and I got to hear you. I need to know, what you're hearing, and and so also it would be good for in any conversation for there to be a check. What do you understand of what I say? To make sure that I've had courses in effective communication and whatever. By the way, it would be good if everyone could share their resume so we can better appreciate the talent. I have really an amazing background.
You do. Next time we talk, maybe there's some questions you'd like to ask about what it is that brought me to this place here and where I'm at. So I'm very happy to share with,
I don't think there's enough hours in the day to answer all the questions I have.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to have to get going.
Okay.
So,
all right. Thank you very much, David. I really do appreciate your being there.
I know you do. And Steve, I will not abandon you. I will never do that.
Yeah. So what's your situation, briefly? So you're wanting to sell your house. You're still going to go back to New Zealand when
the plan has been the last 2 years to get out of Dodge. But as you know, the housing market has just collapsed here.
Well, think of what's going to happen when we tear her down.
Yeah. It's not going to be a good town to live in. But
that's right.
I'm very happy. I've never been happier in all my life. It's kind of interesting I call it lifting the rock, Ramtha's rock, see what crawls out from underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really back on track of who we are, and if we have any kind of mission in life, then this is a part of it. This is a major part, and I'm so happy to be a part of this.
It can't, there's a good number of us that are, in that age group kind of when we're, this is kind of our swan song, so this might be an opportunity for, some people to produce their greatest creation and estimate to their lives, and that's, I'll tell you, what can come of this can be far greater than why we got into it,
Yeah. Well, already a lot has come from it. Just for me personally, talking with you, what you've shared, it adds another part of that tapestry that I wanted to understand, and you've helped me with that.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was trying to tell you when we talked last, and I thought you misinterpreted me. I was just trying to get in there so you weren't bitter and felt that you wasted. And
No, I'm not. I don't have any bitterness. I do have something in my heart. It's in my chest that says enough, and I can't explain it. It's much stronger than any fear or anything. It's just there, and it's
that's the same thing. I guess I'm saying. I mean, I have to do this, and and that's what could come out of it to everyone. Enough of taking, being led. Be the leader, take hold, whatever. Don't let wishes ruin a country.
That's so true.
This is, we've got to stop being recipients and all be givers.
Yeah. Steve, on that line, I'm going to have to get going.
Thank you. Okay, talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.